Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. I hope that you're all doing well and that you're all having an absolutely fantastic day. I just slammed my hand on my leg. That actually hurt more than it should have. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Likes help out the channel a lot. They help out the algorithm, and the YouTube uses it to actually show the video to other people depending on how many likes it has. It's quite an odd system. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. You know the deal. The last couple of weeks have been, the word marred doesn't fit there, but marred by news of nonstop cryptocurrency accumulation. We've been having a lot of news about cryptocurrency scarcity, owning 10,000 XRP, not having enough Ethereum, the amount of Bitcoin on crypto exchanges continuing to disappear, and also, as we've been going over, directly intertwining into this news has been about companies and corporations announcing that they are getting into the cryptocurrency space. And today, my friend, is no different. A company by the name of Belgravia. I always want to say Belgravia, and I don't know why. Belgravia Hartford Capital has made their first Bitcoin purchase. They have also created a brand new Bitcoin treasury. Yes, I believe this must be number 21. Nonstop company, and I'm counting 21 from like 2 or 3 months ago. MicroStrategy is not part of that number, by the way, and neither is Metaplanet, of new companies who have announced that they're going to begin to buy Bitcoin and that they're creating some kind of Bitcoin treasury for whatever the reason might be. Belgravia Hartford Capital, a Canadian securities exchange listed investment issuer, has announced its first Bitcoin purchase as part of a new treasury strategy. On the 9th of June, Belgravia Hartford Capital, the Canadian Securities Exchange, announced the completion of their initial Bitcoin purchase. The company said they purchased $500,000 worth of Bitcoin, 4.8615296669. I don't know why they wrote the whole number there. Bitcoin at an average price of $102,000 per coin, inclusive with all fees and expensive. They said the purchase marks the first transaction under a new credit facility of up to $5 million secured from Round 13 Digital Asset Fund LP Round 13 DAF. I feel like I'm reading Japanese sometimes. Why does no one talk in plain English? According to the statement, Belgravia has already accepted the first tranche. There's that word again from a couple days ago. How funny. We haven't had that word ever, but now it's appearing everywhere. How funny. Drawdown of $5 million US. Mehdi Azodi, the CEO of Belgravia Hartford Capital, expressed optimism regarding the timing of the acquisition. He said, "We are very pleased to have entered the market at this time. Belgravia and Round 13." Oh, that's the name of the company? There's a company called Round 13 DAF? What? Okay. Round 13 DAF will continue to monitor the facility and our holdings of Bitcoin as we move into the anticipated active summer for Belgravia, cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin in particular. End quote. I can only assume that person is alluding to the idea that everyone thinks the cryptocurrency market, like from now until the end of time, is about to go completely insane. Yes, we have another new company. This is, I believe, one of the lowest like purchases out there. Keeping in mind, keeping in mind, this is still a huge amount of Bitcoin. 4.86 Bitcoin literally is taking away Bitcoin from I want to say hundreds, no, thousands, hundreds of people. And that now another 4.86 millionaires, if you want to, look at them that way. And billionaires can never, ever own these coins ever again. That's 4.86 millionaires and billionaires who can never own an entire coin. Yeah, it's happening all the time. I'm pretty sure, as I've stated before, there are a number of other companies who are probably purchasing in silence, and or they are not publicly listed, and therefore they don't have to tell anybody anything. That's the Belgravia Hartford Capital just bought $500,000 worth of Bitcoin news. And yeah, let's move on. Well, this was also bound to happen. We've been having news about this as well. I mean, don't act surprised, anyone. Ethereum staking. The amount of Ether staked is nearing 90 billion US dollars amid the Petra upgrade and a growing market interest in Ethereum. There has been a huge amount of inflows into the Ethereum ETFs. It has not been the amount that we see for the Bitcoin ETFs, but it's still a staggering amount of money. We had news years ago that I believe the number of Ether staked was 4% of all Ether, and then that was 11%. And the number just keeps on rising. The only way to make new Ether is to have the Ether, and as we are on the cusp of all these institutions and companies around the world, in case you missed it, they all are trying to change the wording of their Ethereum ETFs to include the word staking so that their investors can essentially receive passive income for the rest of their lives. This is why I assume that a lot of these companies for themselves are probably also, once again, these companies are not only accumulating crypto through their ETFs. They also have companies themselves, and they're also buying. They're not just doing all of this to help out their customers to become richer. They themselves also want to become richer as well. Ethereum staking has reached an unprecedented milestone, with nearly $90 billion staked globally as of June 2025, signaling robust confidence in the evolving ecosystem. The surge is driven by technological advancements such as the recent Petra upgrade and a platform called Toko Crypto, never heard of it, Toko Crypto, which have expanded staking accessibility and participation worldwide. Yudono Rawis, the CEO of Toko Crypto, emphasized, he said, staking on Toko and globally is fueling new highs for Ethereum, with the Petra upgrade marking a pivotal movement in both network anticipation and price performance. Do they have a number? So apparently 32 million ETH have been staked. By mid-2025, ETH staking surpassed 32.8 million Ether are staked. I assume that is over, that's over 25, almost 30%, somewhere around there. I assume that's what the actual number is. This also made popular news. I was quite shocked. We normally don't hear any kind of news like this. The Ether ETF from Rock Black apparently has had nonstop inflows into it. It's surprising, but not surprising how people just don't. I'm not really sure. The Ethereum ETFs, big S at the end, have done incredibly well in a very short period of time. We're still getting news that people try to convince you that if there's any amount of outflows, that something has gone wrong, something's amiss or whatever. On any given day, like I was telling you, and have been telling you for years regarding year and a half, regarding Bitcoin ETF inflows, what always happens is that the inflows to Bitcoin are $1.2 billion. And then one day the outflows are $18 million, but the outflows make the news and no one pays attention to the $1 billion over the last day or week. So we had a lot of movement news. I don't know if I brought it here. It wasn't that interesting. There was a lot of money moving around from institutions who were taking ETH off of exchanges or who were staking more ETH. This was a couple of days ago in the last couple of weeks. And also the amount of money flowing into the ETFs for Ethereum was also breaking records. But, you know, it's Ethereum. This isn't some random coin. This isn't Tron. This isn't Pepe coin. This isn't something you've never heard of. It's the most used blockchain on the planet. Of course, it's going to have an enormous amount of money flowing into the ETFs, and that's just the ETFs as well. Keep in mind, people are still buying on other avenues. They're buying on cryptocurrency exchanges. They're, you know, I don't have to, you understand. Yes, Ethereum is doing exceptionally well. There are still a lot of analysts are still calling for a $5,000 to $10,000 Ether in the short term. Ethereum's and Bitcoin's fundamentals are absolutely incredible. They're getting a lot more adoption. A lot more people are using them. The amount of Ether, in case you missed it, the amount of Ether on crypto exchanges has not been this low since 10 years ago. Yes, you heard me. I was going to say that's not a typo, but I'm not typing with my voice, but you understand. Yes, since 10 years ago. So Ethereum should, like a few other coins, be far higher in price. If we got to 4,800 off of nothing, we should at least be at a $7,000-$8,000 Ether right now. But we'll see what ends up happening. That's the Ethereum is doing extremely well, and more Ether gets staked. At some point, that number is going to be 70 to 80%. A lot of people are going to be very shocked, and yeah, let's move on. Also, in extremely, geez Louise, guys, calm down. In extremely popular news, a lot of banks, if not all of them, are working on creating their own stablecoin. A lot of times the news ends up being that people believe that this is going to outrightly benefit the cryptocurrency space in some sort of way. It's a yes, no, yes kind of thing. The bank is doing it for themselves. But if they happen to put it on a public blockchain, then things begin to start looking a little bit gooder. I know gooder isn't the word, but you still understood it. The bank is called Société Générale, the crypto arm of the French financial services company, has launched a brand new US dollar pegged stablecoin. This is the year where all of this is going to happen. How do we know this? Because they told us last year. Weird, right? Yeah. Last year, they said that they were all going to be launching stablecoins and testing them out and creating them. We also just got news 2 weeks ago that JP Morgan and a bunch of other banks are all trying to allegedly create their own coin. That is probably not going to work because they're all very greedy and they all want their own monies and other people to use it. However, this is the year of governments and companies and corporations trying to make their own stable coins. We also got news that Facebook is also, yeah, Facebook is trying to make a brand new stablecoin after the other one didn't work out too well. According to a 10th of June announcement, the stablecoin, terrible name, it'll be called USD Coinvertible. That's the official name for it. USD Coinvertible with the symbol USDCV. Will be issued on Ethereum and on Solana. That's when it makes news. If these large banks are going to be creating stablecoins and they create their own blockchains for it, it's not going to really benefit anyone, not even the bank, because you then have to have some kind of interoperability to tell the other banks to use your coin on this brand new chain that you created when they created their own chain. When banks start using and creating stablecoins on public chains, especially one like Ether, where the more transactions you have, the more Ether gets burned. If a bank starts doing this and they start performing billions of dollars worth of transactions, can you guess what happens to Ether's price? Yeah, US-based financial services firm Bank of New York Mellon will act as the custodian for the assets backing the stablecoin. The announcement follows the firm's April 2023 launch of its euro-pegged stablecoin EUR, terrible name, Convertible. It's called Convertible, EUR for euro, convertible EURCV for institutional customers. They said after the release of a MiCA-compliant euro stablecoin MAKEOVER, the launch of a US dollar version was the obvious next step for Société Générale Forge, as market adoption of stablecoins is growing exponentially. Cool. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm going to clap at all for a new stablecoin being launched, but years ago, this was also, if you will, this was also foretold. These companies and these banks believed years ago that they could simply create a stablecoin out of thin air and that people would use it. They also believed that they could create a stablecoin on their own volition, their own efforts, and kind of have adoption. The problem is these people are now realizing that the adoption is within the cryptocurrency space. If you create something, the banks will not come because they don't really care because they're doing their own operation. So yes, we are meant to see, and I guesstimate low range. It has to be over 100 stablecoins this year that are going to be launched and released from banks, companies, and institutions. Anywho, yeah, that's the French bank has announced they're releasing their stablecoin. It said the trading for it is projected to start as early as July. Fantastic. Can't wait. Magical. Okie dokie. Let's move on. Also in popular news, BlackRock's spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund has become the fastest ETF in history to surpass 70 billion US dollars in assets under management. Yes, my friends, BlackRock continues to, and when I show you the numbers as well, I think you'll understand a little bit more. Whenever there's news, and I'll give it to you this way. Whenever there's news about outflows, it's probably a lie. Yeah, surprise. Remember this was 2-3 months ago. There was a news article that popped up. This was the only one that we've seen because I think other people like to just scare people. This person was like, "Nar." The news is that every time that we've heard about outflows from the Bitcoin ETFs, only 5% of the coins were actually moving. That is to say, 95% of the fund was still there. Any news, so like, I'll give it to you this way. Imagine $100 million. Now imagine we keep getting news that that fund has 100 million, but 5% of it is the only thing that's leaving. Now understand, from that 5% that keeps looping out, that money also ends up looping back in from the same companies who sold their shares. Right. So then, even crazier of that. So once again, 95% of the money in these ETFs is not moving. It is only purchased and sitting there. The other 5% that is moving, let's say on any given day, that you know, for the sake of simplicity, that $5 million that's there, roughly around 10% of that was actually moving out of the fund at different intervals. So every time we kept on getting this news like outflows are bad, those were all lies, constantly pushed out to make people think that the demand wasn't there. No, my friends, it's BlackRock. Like, what planet are you living on where the company who owns everything doesn't already have $70 billion worth of Bitcoin in assets under management? It said, and I quote, IBIT, which is the name of their fund, IBIT just blew through $70 billion and is now the fastest ETF to ever hit that mark in only 341 days. It's not even a year. That is crazy. This was said by the ETF analyst. His name is Eric Balchunas. We have heard about him many a time. Balchunas said the milestone was approximately The milestone was approximately 5 times faster than the previous record holder, and that was SPDR Gold shares. We had news about that last year. If you weren't here around that time, welcome. That BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF was, like Tyrannosaurus Rexing every single ETF. Like stomping over all of them, running rapidly down the street. And they were comparing it. A lot of companies initially, I think they stopped because they were embarrassed. A lot of companies were comparing the Bitcoin ETF inflows to gold. And they were like, it's not keeping up. It's not keeping. Oh crap. That kind of thing. And we found out really fast. I think it took gold. I forgot what the numbers were. It took gold a decade to reach a certain milestone. And I think the Bitcoin ETF, I think it took them 4 months. 4 months compared to 10 years. So the previous record holder was SPDR Gold shares, which took 1,000. The previous record holder took 1,691 days. That was the previous fastest. Listen. Of all the ETFs that have ever existed, that was the fastest. 1,691 days to reach 70 billion. The BlackRock ETF took less than a year. Are you understanding yet? Are you getting an understanding why Bitcoin is going to take over gold? Do you want, dude, listen. Do you know how long we've had the Bitcoin ETFs? It was January 2024. What do you think happens in the next year and a half? Daily, my friend, we have had a new company announcing that they're buying more Bitcoin. These companies, in order, they go, we're going to buy 1 million. We're going to buy 6 million. I think 25 million. We're going to accumulate 100 million. And then they switch into the billions of dollars in desperation to buy as much Bitcoin as literally humanly possible. Can you extrapolate at all and really understand where this is going? If that happened in 341 days, a year being 365, what happens by June 2028? How much Bitcoin do these people have? I mean, spoiler alert, the answer's over 1 million. They're already on their way. We had this conversation before. They're already on their way to holding more than the wallet that is from Satoshi Nakamoto. Look at this chart. Look, it's just completely insane. We are going to see, we are witnessing the greatest wealth transfer that there was or probably will ever be in the literal history of humanity right now. I believe that BlackRock currently, I think they own or are holding, I think 20 or 30,000 more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy currently. They're both desperately trying to get to 1 million Bitcoin just to be able to say we were the first people to get to 1 million Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges continues to dwindle and disappear. I don't know who's even listening at this point. If anyone's still here, hello. They're buying all of it for themselves. You are never, ever going to have an opportunity like this in your life. If this is your first time investing, if this is your first time in crypto, you need to understand that other assets do not do this. This is not normal. The money, all this stuff, you have to understand the opportunity that you have before you is staggering. And when 5% of you actually heed my warnings and you become wealthy in the future, I will give you a golf clap. So many people are blissfully unaware of what's taking place, and they are doing everything that they can to avoid any kind of logic. The activity that we're seeing is crazy. This is the finest asset, most finite asset on the planet. These people in a year have broken every record through my friend, this is one Bitcoin ETF out of about 25 on the planet. You know, the other 20 something are also doing just well as well, right? They're doing pretty gosh darn good. When we get to the point where in 2028 reserves on crypto exchanges have dried up, please remember these moments. Remember how early you were and if you did or did not act on it. It's very important. Because in the future, I do think that 95% of you, this is not a joke, 95% of you are going to sit there when Bitcoin's at several million, when XRP's at $180, when Ethereum's at 72,000 a coin, and you're going to go, I wish I had a time machine. Oh, I wish I could go back. You're here now. You're in the present. Act on it. Because they are. Well, I think that is going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.